Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is one of a couple commentaries that Lucas sent in for request. And I have the subtitles on because I'll just watch it with that instead of having the headphones on the whole time, which is uncomfortable. But yeah, I know he wanted a commentary and a review, so yeah, let's get into it. I'm paused beginning for anyone that wants to request any other type of videos, movie reviews, re-reviews, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthrough for an hour, or full playthrough, tier list, ranking, whatever the case. Feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. So 3, 2, 1, pressing play. So here we have the logo at play here. We got Universal. From what I understand, I think it was Jeffrey Katzenberg was with. I swear he was with Pixar's. I know at Pixar there was talks of doing a movie dealing with bugs. Then Jeffrey Katzenberg, someone went to, DreamWorks here, and then Universal. Then they start developing their own movie about cartoon bugs. It's like, oh, well, that's interesting. We had this idea. Now you're doing your version, and they didn't. It wasn't on great terms that they left on. So then it makes you wonder. Must be something about this where you don't leave on good terms, and then you happen to have a similar idea that the other people had. Interesting. What a coincidence, you know what I mean? Hell of a coincidence, But, just saying. So yeah, Woody Allen as the lead, which I'm not a Woody Allen guy. Okay, to be fair, do I think he did a decent job voicing the character? And was it a interesting choice? It definitely was not your typical choice to be the lead of a mainstream movie, let alone a mainstream animated movie. It's just that, knowing what we know now about Woody Allen, and he's just not, he's not a good guy at all. It's hard to differentiate one from the other, at least for me. I mean, he's playing a character that's neurotic, and he does have those tendencies with his acting and his voice. But at the same time, Woody Allen, didn't sleep with his stepdaughter, and like she was so young, or wasn't like underage. It's all sick bullshit stuff, man. Fucking Woody Allen, these weirdos, sickos. They married her too, the Asian one, and fucking weirdos, sickos, like a lot of people in Hollywood. I remember always thinking that I liked Antz a bit more than A Bug's Life, just because Antz felt a little bit more for an older audience, while A Bug's Life felt like it was a bit more for a younger audience. Like, A Bug's Life felt a bit more for kids, and this felt a bit more for a little older audience. Maybe that's just me. And while I do like the voice cast in A Bug's Life, they're fine. This, I mean, Sylvester Stallone, Gene Hackman, Danny Glover. A lot of cool stuff in that. So here is about the separation. You're either a worker or you're a soldier. You either did all the rock and that's all you do day by day in the tunnel, or you're a soldier. I mean, it's weird to have a movie where Woody Allen and Sharon Stone fall for each other. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, I do like the film. It's just nowadays, it's like, okay, Woody Allen and Sharon Stone are your two leads. I don't know. It's not really the the two I would pick and the two that I think are the greatest. That's just me, though. Let me look up the who else is in the film. Jennifer Lopez, Christopher Walken, Dan Aykroyd. Etc. And just an interesting bit here that they become the wrecking ball. Yeah, be the ball. Eat my balls, dude. How about that? It does seem like the consensus is people like A Bug's Life more than Antz. Because I think if you look at it, A Bug's Life did better than Antz at the box office, and it felt like it got better reviews. Because if you look up A Bug's Life, it has a 7.2 on IMDb, has a 92% of Rotten Tomatoes, and then box office wise, 363 million worldwide, 162 million in the US. And it came out in November. Antz, on the other hand, 6.5, 92% Rotten Tomatoes. I know this made a lot less money. This made 171 million worldwide, 90 million in the US, and it came out in October. So this came out first, and it made a lot less money. Antz being a more mature and cynical critique of totalitarianism in society. A Bud's Life presents a more family-friendly, optimistic tale of being a hero. But I think this one, it just, A Buzz Life felt a bit more like Tudor for kids, while this one just seemed a little bit more. The jokes seemed to play off a bit better, and it just felt a bit wittier compared to A Bug's Life. Again, it's cool to have Gene Hackman and Christopher Walken in this scene here, and then you got Sylvester Stallone, you got Danny Glover later on, etc. It's cool to have those actors in this. And you could kind of tell that with the faces, they try to make them a little bit like the actor. I guess as much as they could. I mean, you can see that the characters in A Bug's Life, they try to make them look cuter, rounder faces. While here, you have the more like pointy sides, pointy noses, and definitely look, quote, uglier. And I guess you could say, like, with these, they try to make the faces more human like. Do you see, like, the dimples, whatever, around the cheeks, the mouths, and the noses and stuff? And yeah, Sylvester Stallone, which is funny because I could just tell just by looking at his face that it's Stallone. But it was interesting, him kind of being the sidekick here and acting a bit more jovial. It's also interesting because Stallone and Woody Allen had worked kind of together before. Was it Bananas? Because he's a guy that would mug Woody Allen in a film. Yeah, Bananas. This right here. There's Stallone mugging Woody Allen in the film Bananas. This was 1971, so before Stallone was famous. Or intimidating Woody Allen. So it's interesting to see like where they were there and then where they are at this point. Although I mean, technically, when you're voice acting, you're technically not working together because usually they bring you in individually. You do the lines and you're not in the same room. You probably don't even meet the person. So there you go on that. See, I mean, the general plot. I mean, you probably know if you've seen this film. So I don't know what I'm talking about. Because why would we be watching this if you'd ever seen this film before? But you have the princess that wants to just belong and just wants to kind of see what it's like on the typical side and not worry about all the royal guard, what you're supposed to be doing, what you should be doing, what you're told to do. Here's like everybody's got to dance the same way, move the same way, think the same way. You can't think for yourselves. Yeah, you see, like this movie's definitely more open to things being a bit more suggestive and idea a bit more mature. I think they even do like a nod to Pulp Fiction here with this stuff. I believe they do. It's been a while since I've seen this. Yeah, there you go. This here and the other person doing this, that's obviously a reference to Pulp Fiction. Actually, let me see if I can find the what was going on with the Jeffrey Katzenberg and all that. Because that is actually a pretty interesting. That's probably the most interesting story about these two films is that backstory. In 1988, Disney pitched a film called Army Ants about a pacifist worker ant teaching lessons of independent thinking to his military colony. Jeffrey Katzenberg was the chairman of Disney's film division. He left the company in a feud with CEO Michael Eisner over the vacant president position after the death of Frank Wells. So he was the chairman of the film division. The president of the company was up and he had a fight with Michael Eisner. Katzenberg would later go help make DreamWorks with Steven Spielberg and David Geffen. And the three wanted to rival Disney with the new animation division. He developed projects they tried to do with Disney, like The Prince of Egypt, Arm Animations, which resulted in Chicken Run, and Army Ants. Many ideas for the film were borrowed from a scrapped PDI film pitch for a computer animated film from 1991 called Bugs Lights Out, about microscopic robots that take apart machinery. Production began in May 1996 after starting on Prince of Egypt. Woody Allen was cast. His decision to be in the film was made as a favor to Jeffrey Katzenberg. Sarah Jessica Parker was originally cast as Princess Bala, but she was fired and replaced by Sharon Stone. Does it say why she was fired? No. Huh. During the production of Pixar's A Bug's Life, a public feud erupted between Katzenberg and Pixar's Steve Jobs and John Lasseter. Katzenberg had left Disney in a feud, blah blah blah. Started making Antz. By this time, Pixar's project was well known within the animation community. Both films center on a young male ant, a drone with oddball tendencies that struggles to win a princess's hand by saving their society. A Bug's Life relied more on visual gags. Antz was more verbal and more satiric and more adult references. Pixar's film was more for kids. Lasseter and Jobs think that Katzenberg stole their idea. Apparently, in October 1995, Lasseter, one of the guys at Pixar, was overseeing post-production work on Toy Story at the Universal Studios Lots Technicolor facility in Universal City. Katzenberg, he called him, "Hey, how's it going?" He asks, "Hey, what are you doing?" Lasseter says, "I'm doing A Bug's Life," described in detail. He respected Katzenberg's judgment and felt comfortable using him as a sounding board. When the trades indicated production on Antz, Lasseter, feeling betrayed, called Katzenberg and asked if it was true, who in turn asked him where he heard the rumor. Lasseter asked again, and Katzenberg admitted it was true. Lasseter raised his voice and would not believe Katzenberg's story that the development director had pitched him the idea long ago. Katzenberg claimed Antz came from a 1991 story pitched by Tim Johnson that was related to Katzenberg in October 94. Another source gives Nina Jacobson as the person responsible for the Antz's pitch. Lasseter cursed at Katzenberg and hung up the phone. Lasseter recalled that Katzenberg began explaining that Disney was out to get him, and Lasseter felt that he was cannon fodder in Katzenberg's fight with Disney. Katzenberg believed he was the victim of a conspiracy. Eisner had decided not to pay him. His contract required a bonus, convincing Disney's board not to give him anything. Katzenberg was further angered by the fact that Eisner scheduled Bugs to open the same week as The Prince of Egypt, which is then intended to be DreamWorks' first animated release. Lasseter relayed the news to Pixar employees, but kept morale high. It is a bid back and forth fight between the two. Antz geared more towards older audiences, featured moderate violence, mild sexual innuendos and profanity, social political satire. Buzz Life was more family friendly and lighthearted in tone. Antz played up more realistic aspects of ants and how they relate to other bugs. Buzz Life offered a more fanciful look at insects to better suit its story. Yeah, they both had the same critical notes, and Bug's Life made more money. Probably because, it was more kid friendly, and the parents, they looked at the way the creatures looked, they looked at the way the insects looked, and they go, I'm sure the trailers for both of these movies had already been out, because if this came out October and that came out November, parents probably looked at two and said, well, I'm not going to take my kids to two ant movies, I'm going to take them to one. Well, A Bug's Life looks a bit more colorful, looks a bit more family friendly, looks a bit more for the kids to handle. I'll wait and we'll go to that one. Yes, I'm assuming that was the case. But yeah, Woody Allen here with Danny Glover. Always nice to have Danny Glover. Big fan of his. Predator 2, Lethal Weapon, etc. I know, sadly, Danny Glover, I don't think his mind is there too much anymore. Someone I know met with him and said it took him like 20 minutes just to try to sign an autograph. Just wasn't there. So the idea of the plot is that Gene Hackman sends this army out there to die because he knows they're going to die. He just wants everything weakened enough and wants everything to be in his favor for a coup d'etat to overthrow the queen. Because he wants to be the leader. He wants to be the guy leading everything. So he thinks these guys are sacrifice. Sacrificial lambs for the slaughter. Here's the termites. Again, as an older person, I would say I like this film more because of that. I like this film more because of it seems more for my age range, if that makes sense. Look, the guy just got melted, pretty much. Some of them are getting bit in half. I think he finds Danny Glover. He's been bit in half. This almost seems like it's going to be like Starship Troopers or something. But I remember, liking both films. So we find a way that he's able to survive, and that's the way he fell in. This thing covered the hole, so no one else can get to him. Meanwhile, Stallone's character likes to have his change of pace. Jennifer Lopez getting hot for Sly. Stallone at this point, I'm trying to think. See, scenes like this where he's checking out her legs and checking out her body would probably be a bit too suggestive for a Pixar movie. But you're able to do it with this. I think this is the guy from Murphy Brown. I could be wrong, but I swear it is with the way he voice. I swear he's one of the actors. Murphy Brown I haven't seen in forever since I was a kid. So, but yeah, Stallone. Yeah, I think at this time he was trying to figure out what he was going to do with the rest of his career because he was in kind of this weird state of his career where he didn't just want to do action films anymore. He wanted to do different stuff. He realized he was getting older. And the action films he was doing, they weren't really succeeding. I mean, Assassins did not do well. I liked the film, but that came out in 95 and that flopped. Daylight, which I like, that film was a massive flop in the US. Judge Dredd which was 95. That flopped. Copland, which I love Copland. I think Copland is one of his best films. That flopped. Sadly. No award recognition. In fact, I got dumped on by critics, which I still don't understand. And then that was 97. So I didn't do something different. Okay. Be a voice in this movie with all these other actors and such. DreamWorks. Big company. And this, I don't even know if you would say it did okay considering the budget. I'm sure they had to probably spend more money to get it out before A Bug's Life, which didn't matter because it didn't do the best anyway. So yeah, I don't know. This could have flopped because 90 million is a lot of money, but I don't even remember what it cost. I mean, if that was near the budget, then I mean, only made 177. You could pretty much consider it at the very least a disappointment. And A Bug's Life definitely beat its ass at the box office. So there you go. Now it did make more money in the U.S. It made a lot more money worldwide. It made like 3 times as much worldwide. So. And then after this, Stallone had what? You had Driven, that bombed. ICU was in this flux of would it be released? Okay, we're just going to dump it direct to video. An Alan Smithy film, Burn How It Would Burn, which was an embarrassment of a fucking movie. That's why he went to do an Avenging Angelo and bullshit like that direct to video. Or being in Spy Kids 3 in 2003 or so as the bad guy, which was an awful fucking film. But probably one of the few hits he was in at that time, because it did make money. So other than that, that's why he wanted to do another Rocky film. And so 2006 comes about, Rocky Balboa comes out, then Rambo 4, 2008, and then goes on from there. Gene Hackman, he wouldn't be in movies a whole lot longer. He did a couple films afterward. I think the last film he did was the film with Ray Romano, Welcome to Mooseport. I don't even remember what year that was. Stallone is a lot of fun in this because it's just very, again, it's a different type of performance we hear from Stallone. Just very like jovial, and he's a really funny guy. Like you look at interviews and stuff, Stallone is a very funny guy, and I don't think there's a film that's ever touched on his comedy as well as it could have been. I like Oscar. Stop or My Mind Will Shoot. I could watch for what it is. I can. But his sense of humor, I don't think there's a film that's tapped into it as well as it does in interviews and such. So I think Anne Bancroft is the queen. I did not see these in the theater. I saw these at home video. I think at this point, my aunt, lovely person, she helped a lot in my, in a weird way, film education, in a way, when I was a kid. Because, long story short, back to the day, had only four channels: ABC, CBS, PBS, and another form of CBS. Up until probably 1996 or 1997, where we as a family finally got cable. I say we as a family, but I think around that point, my brother and my sister had gone off to college and all sorts of stuff. So I was still in, I think I was still in middle school at the time. So that's when I was finally able to see much more stuff. But before then, unless we rented stuff at the store, my aunt would send us tapes. That's how I was able to see the Three Stooges, The Simpsons, Scooby Doo, a few episodes of X Files, and some movies, mostly kids' movies. And I believe this and A Bug's Life were sent, along with others, taped on a VHS tape. And I think even back then I remember liking Antz more because it was a bit more mature, a little bit more, yeah, it felt a bit more wittier. At least to me in my eyes. And yes, I do live on a farm in the middle of nowhere, so that's why there's roosters and stuff. I thought this was pretty fun, the way people get burned. Like, look at that. Turned to damn charred remains. I remember going, God damn. But it definitely sells on the danger of the situation, I'll say that. I would say it. I do think this keeps a consistent tone of. I don't know what the rating was. I would think PG, and if so, this consistently is PG. Sharon Stone is one of those people that always seem like a bitch, and from what I understand in real life, she was a bitch. There's always a story I heard about her sending dead roses to Wes Craven. It's kind of this weird gotcha moment type of thing. And that she was such a pain in the ass while doing King Solomon's Mines and hated doing it, but then did Alan Quartermain and Lost City of Gold, that almost everybody hated her. In King Solomon's Mines, I think there's a bit where there's her and Richard Chamberlain supposed to be in this big pot because they're being cooked by the natives, and apparently they did a lot of stuff into that pot and pissed in it and stuff. And Richard Chamberlain's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm in here too, I didn't do anything. It's like, sorry, you're collateral damage, I guess, because of Sharon Stone's bitchiness. And I mean, she kind of got what she got because her behavior, people didn't want to work with her, people thought she was a pain in the ass, and then what? The Quick and the Dead, I thought she was completely miscast. I liked that film, but Sharon Stone I thought was a terrible casting choice. I think, Demi Moore, Gina Davis, there's quite a few other people I would have cast in The Quick and the Dead over Gina Davis, over Sharon Stone. Basic Instinct 2 was a fucking bomb. Shut the fuck up, Rooster. I know. Pissed I'm talking about Sharon. Maybe that is Sharon Stone. I mean, what the fuck else is she doing? She could barely get a fucking job as is, so she got a job being a fucking rooster. forget what film she was in recently. I forgot. Catwoman. She was in Catwoman. Fucking Catwoman. She was in another film recently. I don't remember what. I think she was in Cold Creek Banner with Dennis Quaid. Some pretty bad films. Basic Instinct 2, Catwoman, Cold Creek Manor. So her star power definitely dwindled to nothing. To a point that no one gives a fuck about Sharon Stone. Liked her in Total Recall. But she thought she was a bigger star than she really was. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, they definitely try to do, but with the other insets, they try to go more for a realistic look, while in A Bug's Life, much more cuter, much more kid-friendly designs of the bugs. Because there's a lot different types of bugs. Because there's the group that the lead character finds, that are really a circus act, but they're supposed to pretend to be these mercenaries that he's hired to combat the threat. But again, they're really just circus performers. You have the ladybug and other such stuff. And this kind of started them realizing, wait a minute, a worker ant could be somebody? No, it can't be. We can be nobody. Yes, you can. Because you find out at the end that there's a lot more worker ants than soldier ants, and with the number of worker ants, how the ratio of them are much more bigger number becomes the downfall of the bad guys at the end. He didn't know what to do when we said no. I Despite the fact that I'm not really big on the people of Woody Allen and Sharon Stone, they do fine, and I don't mind the characters. And it felt like the story just went at a better pace compared with A Bug's Life. And again, maybe because I'm older now, so the more like cutesy, let's do this for the kids, just less appealing to me. It's kind of in a weird way. Like I love the '80s Ninja Turtles cartoon will always be special to me because you know that's what brought me to those characters. I love the Ninja Turtles, and so I always have a special place in my heart for the '80s Ninja Turtles cartoon. Do I ever rewatch that show? No. Would I for request? Sure, but go on my way? Yeah, once in a while, but not often. But I would go back and rewatch the 2003 Ninja Turtles cartoon. Because as I'm older, it just more to my sensibilities today. As I'm older. Same with this. That was a cool looking effect, being trapped in this water bubble. I mean, looks kind of neat. Looks kind of neat indeed. The animation may not seem as polished nowadays, but yeah, I remember this is 1998, so I think they did what they could back then. I mean, if you're asking me what I would give visually and color scheme wise, I'd probably give it to A Bug's Life. Just definitely much more of a colorful venture. I think the animation seems to. But I mean, there's some good points in this as well for animation. There's Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry fucking Finn going down the water. That's a whole damn revolt. I don't need to do shit. You want to dig it up? Dig your own goddamn self. Like I said, I mean, you got Christopher Walken and Gene Hackman and Stallone. I mean, he's got some pretty good, high hitters of a cast in this. But yeah, rest in peace to Gene Hackman. Always, I miss the guy. Always was one of my favorite actors. I think whenever he gave out a performance, it was just so. French Connection, Uncommon Valor will always be my favorite of his. I adore Uncommon Valor. Yeah, I think one day I need to see if I could get Uncle Bellstum and Mark to see Uncommon Valor. Because I think that'd be interesting for them to see, like a watch a film they haven't seen before. I think that'd be interesting. Who knows? We'll see. Because that's a film that I've told quite a few people about, and a lot of times I would get message back, "Hey, I just saw Uncommon Valor, and man, that really hit home, and man, that really." And I'm like, yeah, it's such an underrated fucking film, man. It is so fucking underrated. So I grew silent. It's just hard to think of stuff to talk about within a commentary. Like, it's a film I'm angry about and I can just make fun of the whole time. That's one thing. Or if it's a film that I've watched 100 times, it's one of my all-time favorites, and constantly praise it. That's one thing. Here, like I said, I haven't seen this film in years and years and years. I've probably seen this film, count one hand how many times I've seen this in my life. That's interesting. We got some product placement. We had Mountain Dew and Pepsi. trying to remember if it's who I think it is. The other. Sorry, gotta look real quick. Sorry about that. Okay, it is. Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin. I wanted to see if the other person. Yeah, it is Jane Curtin. Which, of course, is interesting because they're both the stars of Coneheads. Not just on SNL, but the movie itself. So I want to make sure that. Is that Jane Curtin? It is. So, of course, Dan Aykroyd, obvious. As I think the Wasp. And that's a bit, even that's a bit kind of, I don't want to say edgy, but you have these two that are in love, and you just see that one has been killed and the other's mourning their death. I don't think you, and see the Pixar or another movie, it'd be, oh, they've just been dazed, or they've just been knocked out, or they've just been, you know, whatever, and then, well, they get back up and they both fly away. But I mean, that's a bit kind of risky. See, that right there is okay. That's a bit interesting. I mean, I appreciate it, I guess. I thought this also kind of cool to really show the size of these characters compared to a person and their sneakers and stuff. That must be like the ride to end all rides. Go back up, gonna go all the way back down. This is like the best ride in the park. Like, who's this guy? Damn, beating the ever loving shit out of Stallone's character. God damn. Cut me, bitch, cut me. Sadly, this is the closest Gene Hackman and Stallone ever got to work together, which is a shame. Because I love both actors so much. It would have been great to see them work together live action wise. But this is the closest they got. Christopher Walken's voice work was so excellent that his role was expanded. Arnold Schwarzenegger was originally cast for the part of that Stallone played. Huh. It says here Arnold wanted to get paid, so he went to Stallone, who was willing to do it for free. Really? I mean, asking to get paid, I don't think is really a bad thing. But I'm glad Stallone did it. Oh, that's true. In the movies, Woody Allen's character says he doesn't drink from the anus of another creature, but if you watch the trailer, he says caboose. Woody Allen recorded his part in 5 days. I'm trying to think. So I'm looking through the trivia, and it's not really trivia, it's just random thoughts that no one gives a shit about. Like, this is the first DreamWorks animation film not to become a franchise. It's like, who gives a shit? They have some weird trivia for sometimes for these fucking movies. Whatever. None of these fucking trivia is worth a shit. So I'm not just sitting here quietly. I wanted to give some interesting info, and they don't have any here. Yeah, buzz off, bitch. Buzz off, bitch. Get out the way. Get out the way, bitch. Get out the way. Motherfucker, get out the way, bitch. Right now, you got ducks here too. Wasn't that be locusts? This would be fucking locusts over here. Yeah, I'm glad you're laughing about something. Maybe they think this movie's funny. I mean, this movie is it's fine for what it is. I liked it. I should say that. I liked it more than that. I love how someone was like, "You do the commentary, you don't have any footage." I'm like, "Fine. Give a call to DreamWorks. Give a call to the company. You tell them, hey, can you please allow us to upload your films onto YouTube without getting blocked or worse?" When you get that phone call back and you get the yes, sir, yep, they agree, then you can let me know and I'll put the footage in there. how the fuck? I mean, this guy is pretty shitty at being observant. He lands, and the girl's like right behind her, and he doesn't fucking notice. Like, you think flying by, he would have looked down, and just the peripheral. Oh shit, that person's over here. Like, you're flying, you just look down. Oh shit, I can see you right over there. Like, but didn't fucking notice. He's the king of wishful thinking, of observation. Like, god damn, dude. You don't notice shit, do you? You dumb motherfucker. Yeah, that's the question. What you gonna do? How you gonna proceed? Maybe it's time to be a hero. Oh yeah, because his loved one's been killed, so he got drunk. Maybe he needs some proper motivation. But yeah, they were definitely using much more CG animation starting around this period. Toy Story in them onward, and you saw a lot less traditional animation. And the few times they didn't really do that well because now they condition people and kids to think that animation is this CG 3D animation. And I mean, this is 1998. You see just how much they've gotten better in terms of definition and detail. If you jump to, say, Zootopia, which Disney released, and other characters, other films, that now no one wants to go back to traditional animation. They won't even know what to do with it, how to think of it. It will look alien to younger people. That's not, CG animation. I mean, we've gone a generation of kids growing up with that type of animation, so they feel that's the norm. That's the way it is. And if you look at 2D, traditional, it's like, whoa, that looks weird, or that's different, or what's do with that? I think also with this film, with the lead character, I felt more of his journey of becoming a hero. Whereas in the A Bud's Life, because it was the group effort. I mean, obviously, there's moments where the lead does perform his heroic duties, but it's kind of hidden with the fact of all the other characters doing their own thing, getting into the mist, into the group. Flood the whole thing, kill who he wants to kill, and take over to him a better society. What a dick. What a dick. Again, I'm not the best at commentaries, and a lot of times I just have spots of silence because I don't know what else to say. I mean, some of these films, if I did a review, which I'm going to do a review of this, it'd be 20 minutes long, if that, and that's really all I'd have to say about the film because I don't know. I think like for commentaries, if you're either with a group of people, so they have stuff to talk about, and you can ask them questions, they ask you questions, or with a chat, so you can talk to them, they talk back to you, or it's something you're really passionate about, you really hate, or you really love, then you do talk frequently through it. But if it's something that I liked it and I've seen a handful of times, there's not a whole lot to say. So they don't kill all the worker ants. I think I read up somewhere that they didn't have any of the ants drown here because they would be looked at as too depressing or something. Although, like we've seen other creatures die. But I guess with the ants, they thought it was a bit too much. You fucked it up for everybody, you asshole. Well, there you go. I think the we saw this earlier, like when they all became a ball, those of them working together. I think that becomes the case in this. So knows, oh, this is the guy that was with the princess. Well, this is the guy who's, did more than what we could with our sorry asses, so maybe we should listen to him. Well, I guess if there's anybody you don't stand up on, I guess it'd be Stallone. But if Stallone did this for free, I wonder maybe this hope of getting more projects with DreamWorks, but I don't know if he ever did. I guess Universal when he had to deal with I mean, Daylight was Universal. ICU was supposed to be Universal. Because when you see if you find like the first early trailer, it was Universal Studios, but then eventually went direct to video and sold it to someone. I forget who. So maybe it's like he was trying to have a deal with Universal, and he's like, okay, I have a deal. Didn't pay all this money. I'll do this. Didn't pay for all these other movies. Maybe he's like, well, I did a film for them and it flopped. Maybe I'd do this as a favor for them. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear the story from Stallone. Ooh, nice punch by Christopher Walken there. I thought that was kind of interesting that Christopher Walken kind of joined the good side, so to speak. Because Christopher Walken, there's a lot of films he's been the bad guy and stuff. So again, just interesting that again he would. So it's interesting that there wasn't really like a big battle. I'm trying to remember if there's more to this. Just a bit surprised because you're expecting like this big battle with, you know, oh, that could be the case. Gene Hackman's character. Well, I guess I kept, I remember wrong. I thought there was some big battle between him and Gene Hackman. Obviously not. Maybe I'm getting that confused a Bud's Life or something. I don't know. Just they don't know CPR in the ant world. Well, yeah, maybe they thought if they did this big battle that would be more typical, more what you would expect. So he's doing something a little bit different than the usual. But just that Gene Hackman kind of spears him, and then they both fall, and he dies. I don't know. I think they could have done a little bit more of a actual battle type of thing. I don't know. Maybe they're like, well, we don't want the lead character to kill Gene Hackman's character, so we gotta find a way that Gene kind of does himself in, so to speak. And the reveal that they're in Central Park in New York. Ah, the Twin Towers. This was 1998, so the Twin Towers still there. Never forget. Never forget. That's it. Wow. I didn't realize, yeah, an hour and 18 minutes, so very short film. Goddamn. An hour and 18 minutes. I forgot how short this film was. That's the thing. It's hard to get mad at a film that's only an hour and 18 minutes, and you know, for the most part, the cast does a pretty good job. You know, tells a decent enough story. There's some witty, funny moments of dialogue. Hard to get mad at a film that has Gene Hackman and Sylvester Stallone and Danny Glover and Christopher Walken. Woody Allen does well for what he's supposed to do. I don't like him as a person, but does he do it? I mean, just like Kevin Spacey in A Bug's Life, he's a shitty person. Does he do a good job as the villain in that? Sure. Alphabetical. That's why Dan Aykroyd gets second. Grant Shoud, that might be the guy. Zach Penn? That name sounds familiar with Zach Penn. Why does that name sound familiar? Zach Penn. Oh, he was a co-story writer on Last Action Hero. He co-screen wrote Behind Enemy Lines. Oh, he did Incident Atlantis with Werner Herzog, which I liked. He co-wrote a lot of films. Co-story writer with Joss Whedon on The Avengers. Co-screenwriter on Ready Player One. Co-screenwriter on Free Guy. There you go. Well, yeah, that's it. Like I said, pretty simple, straightforward movie. I'll explain more in the review, but there you go. I know I still got to do a Bud's Life sometime, the commentary and the review, but thanks once again, Lucas, for the request. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.